Alright, so here we go. This is the Mandujuano event. Juan Mandujuano and the Converse Disc Golf Association went ahead and did a little appreciation event for us here in San Antonio, Texas. So this is going to be my first attempt at narrating a video. You're going to have to bear with me. I've never done it. So we're going to see how it goes. What you're seeing here is just before the event, I went ahead and played, I think I played maybe 8 or 9 holes just to warm up, because I'm old and fat. So myself and Joe Roseman, we walked 8 or 9 holes, and this is hole number 1. So where we're at, just so those watching not in state can kind of look up the course. This is the Universal Disc Golf Course in Universal City, Texas. It's an 18-hole course. Pretty decent elevation changes, not super elevation changes, but decent. Not super challenging, but it's a moderate course, I would say. Short to medium length. Most holes are right around 350, 300, with the exception of number 6 and 7. So I'm warming up here. That's me in the black throwing the flick. That is it's a 12X KC Wraith. And I don't typically warm up my sidearm shots here, but today I decided to. And yeah, so I think I throw 1 or 2 more here, and then we're going to move on, and you'll see, you're going to end up seeing the first 4 holes, I'm sorry, the first 5 holes. And then we actually, I'm going to have to go along and watch the video with you, because I don't remember if we went ahead and played on through to 6 or stopped. I think we just stopped at 5 because we were running out of time and it was close to tee off. So primarily what I'm doing is I'm going to be narrating the video for you, letting you know what I throw, the approximate length of the holes, and so on and so forth. On my card, once we do start the round, on my card there was a four-man card. One of the fellas that was on the card with us, great guy. I didn't get his authorization to put him in the video, so the other 2 guys I've had in video before. So I know they don't care. This is number 3. What you saw was number 2. And I want to say this is right around 280. The 2 trees right there in the middle are, although it may not look that difficult to get them through, and it really isn't, if you let it get in your head, and you'll see later on during the round, if you let it get in your head, you'll hit the trees every stinking time, and it's quite frustrating. But here, just like it always works out, here in warm-ups, I throw 3 or 4 shots with my mids and right through, no problem. This is number 4, and it is around 260. It's dogleg left. Basically what you want to do, what I do is I take a Thunderbird. Used to take an Eagle, but now I take a Thunderbird or maybe a beefy Verdict and just let it fade in. And you are going to see number 6. Number 6 is, I think it's really short. It's like 160 maybe. Typically I'll throw that backhand that you saw a minute ago or a putter. Oh, and this, you are going to see number 6. I think we stop here. Number 6 is the second longest hole on the course. I want to say 450, 460. It's a placement shot. You can either do what I'm doing here, throw in a flick shot out there, let it get to the corner, and then throw a little upshot with a putter or a mid. Or you could also do what I do here on this one, and I actually get a hold of this one pretty well. Throw something a little flippy. I think that's a sidewinder, and put it on an ante line. You'll see it come back in, and then you'll throw a putter at it from there. Or, I think what I typically do is pull out my destroyer and just throw a little flick, a sidearm at it, and let it get up, snuggle up to the basket for your 3. The next longest hole in the course would be number 7. You'll see that later on in the video. So anyway, here we go. We're starting the round. This is Danny Frias, great guy, love him to death. He hits a tree.
Thank you, Teresa.
I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. We're starting on 14. He hits a tree, but actually ends up pretty well. I'm throwing my Thunderbird, Champ Thunderbird, and throw it pretty good. Just throw it out there and let it come back. Nothing too fancy. This is Brian Fair, Really nice guy. He was in New Braunfels, now he's in San Antonio. He throws a decent shot, doesn't come back enough for him. This is Brian putting for his 2, and just a little low. And here I am putting for my 2, and although I've been solid lately, I missed that. On to 15. This is Danny. 15 is about 280. I think Danny was throwing a buzz there, and he'll have a look. Brian throwing a flick. Sidearm. I don't know why I keep calling it a flick. And if that doesn't hit, yep, I think he hit a tree, but he'll still have a look. I'm throwing my grip line pure. It's a putter, and I turn it over just a tad, but I should still have a putt. Yes, and here's said putt, and my putting was atrocious today, as you can tell, but I'll take the 3. On to 16. This is Danny. 16 is, again, right around 260. Typically what you want to do, well, I mean, there's a number of things you can do. You can throw the sidearm that Brian almost threw. You can throw the little gap there in the window. You can go over the top with a big hyzer. That turned out pretty well. It just hits a tree, doesn't come back for Brian. I'm throwing an Echo Star T-Bird, and I think it turns out pretty well here. Let's see. That's typically the window you want to hit and just let it work back. And I got a funky hop, or else that might have been a run at it. The other shots you can throw here is, like I said, big spike hyzer over the top. I've also seen people go to the left of the trees with a big Annie or a big sidearm. You can throw a roller here. Possibilities are endless on this hole. So, yeah, I don't know what I hit here, but I know that it frustrated me at the time. I think I just dug in, hit some rocks. Brian's got about a 30-footer and excellent putt.
What, Brian?
The kid's been putting like really well recently. Really proud of him. He's come a long way. And I've got 10-footer. And you know how tournament nerves are. Even though I really didn't, I wasn't too worried about where I finished today. It's still a tournament. You get nerves. Anyway, on to 17, right at 300 feet, maybe 310. Brian ends up a little right, I think, and I throw probably the worst shot of the day. Pew! Oddly enough, it worm burned 2 inches off the ground, and I wound up pin high. That was my orange buzz, I believe. I don't know what Danny's throwing here, but I remember thinking he had a good shot. He just ends up hitting that tree. And here's Brian for his 2, and it almost goes in. Danny got probably 40 feet. Definitely outside the circle. And I remember the wind picked up really, really hard here. And I remember thinking, throw it hard, because the wind's behind you, it's going to drop it. And I thought I threw it hard enough, but nope. On to 18, playing the long basket, which makes it right around 340, 345. A number of things you can do here as well. Sidearm, just an Annie shot, which Brian's taken, and he just doesn't put enough on it. I am throwing a G-star turn here because I remember thinking I'm gonna make sure I'm not gonna be short. Typically I'll throw a mid, and I actually put too much stank on it and went probably 35, 40 feet past the basket. You can throw a big hyzer over those trees to the right. I've seen that done, and I actually throw that a few times. You can just take a mid-range and put it on a little Annie line as long as it comes back, something overstable. And of course there's the Tommy, or the Thumber. I remember thinking, had this stayed up just a little bit longer, it may have had a chance to go in, but alas, it was not meant to be. Don't know what Danny's throwing here. I think he just didn't put enough stank on that. Yeah. Oh, I guess Brian's, well, somebody's bag fallen. This card, none of us felt very good about. Yeah, see, I'm about 45 feet out past the basket, and again, I was confident with my putting, but I wasn't hitting anything. It was miserable. And again, talk about miserable. Everybody right now is putting for par. Danny misses his, and I gotta say, the wind had to have something to do with it, because I don't ever see, these guys missing putts like this. And I tapped in for my 3. Luckily, Anyway, on to number 1, about 320. Basically, you want to throw that, but something a little more overstable, so it comes back to the basket. The basket is beyond that little culvert, behind that tree right in the middle that you see. Just a soft hyzer, usually. So I'll have a putt, albeit a long one. Brian's going to have probably about 120 upshot, and Danny's probably going to have the same,
I just don't like
120 foot upshot. But we're not going to see that. On to number 2. 215, I think. Usually that's a grip line putter. I went through the trees, so I remember thinking, oh, Brian misses the Mando. He's not going to be happy with that. And Danny almost misses the Mando, but yeah. So this is Brian throwing 3, 2, throwing 2. No, throwing 3. I'm sorry. Okay, we're moving on to number 3, 220, and there it is, folks. I can throw that shot 100 times, not hit that stupid tree, but if I'm playing in a tournament, I'm gonna hit it. Danny throws a clean shot, gets through him. Don't quite remember where he winds up. And Brian, not to be outdone by me, hits the other tree. So now we've got probably about 200 feet. Brian has nothing. I mean, he's locked down. He's just going to have to throw a roller or something out. And now, yep, that's what he does. Throws a roller out. And I remember thinking I could probably get it there with just a soft sidearm. I just didn't want it to come down on me and hyzer out. And it actually wound up right under the basket. I was quite fortunate with that. Moving on to number 4. I've already said this was about 240, 250, I think. And I throw my Thunderbird, Champ Thunderbird. And I thought that was going to be a lot closer, because typically I'm really confident with this hole, but you'll see where it wound up. I don't know what Danny's throwing here. But I remember thinking he went back door with it, and he's probably going to have about a 60, 70 footer. Brian threw what I thought was going to be the best shot, and he actually checked up really hard. And yeah, see there, it's about a 30 footer. And this putt, I swear I thought it was in. I thought it was money, but it wasn't. I thought Brian's was in too, but it wasn't. Moving on to 5. Brian, that's me actually, and I actually had a nice run at it, but missed it. I'll have about a 20 footer coming back. Danny. This is a tricky hole. It really is. I mean, you see a lot of aces. Once you get the shot down, it's not that difficult, and that's unfortunate for Brian. And here's me for my 2. Thank goodness, because I don't think I could take another missed putt. Alright, moving on to 6. I just want to do what I did last time in the warm-ups, and I actually sawed it off a little bit. A little windier now, but it's in the fairway, and I'll have a look at getting up and down for a 3. And Brian trying to do the same thing, and kind of just doesn't put enough ante on it. Oh, we missed Danny. Oh well. Alright, so Brian trying to get out. He wound up in the shrubbery. There's Danny's shot. And he's probably got about 300 feet still. The basket's up there and tucked to the right. So, alright, so I pull out my trusty destroyer. Basically, I just want to throw about a 240 foot sidearm and let it come back at the basket. And I had a low ceiling, so that actually works out real well. That's going to put me about 10 foot. 10, yeah, probably about 10 foot. Brian trying to do the same, and he just didn't throw something stable enough, I think. That was Danny, and this is Danny again. I believe he's putting for 5. No, putting for 4. And this is me for 3. That right there that you saw was Danny coming back for 5. I'm sure he wasn't very pleased. Knocked down to 3. This is number 7. And this shot really upset me because, again, it's a shot that... It's a big ante. And you just kind of want to let loose on it, and I didn't put enough stank on it. Brian throws a great little sidearm, and that's basically where you want to be. Even if it's short, it's right there in the middle of the fairway. Pin placement's to the right. And sorry, you don't get to see the rest of that hole. This is number 8, and it's a strong dog leg left. That right there is probably what you want to do. Just throw something really stable out there and let it fall back to the left. You can also throw a roller here, and if you have a really good Tommy, you can get a Tommy up there, but it's a really tight window. Danny's not going to be happy with that. Here's Brian for his 2. Not going to do it. The Danny shot here almost makes it. It's kind of, he was missing a lot of them just by a bit. I'm sure he's quite frustrated. I don't blame him. And I remember thinking, I really want to make this putt because I make these often. Luckily enough, I got it. So none of us were feeling really good with our game. I mean, point in case, that shot right there, it wasn't a buzz, and typically all you want to do is throw a buzz just like Brian did right there. You can also throw a Tommy thumber. You can throw a sidearm here. You can throw something overstable on an ante line, let it flex back. Okay, moving on to number, what is this, 10? The basket's at the top of the hill there. Something like that is what you want to do. Where you don't want to end up is right in the middle at the bottom of that hill, because there's some trees and you just can't putt. There's nothing there. That's basically where you don't want to be, right where Brian is. And Danny's not going to be pleased with that at all. So this was for 2, and again, I remember thinking I really need to put together some birdies here if I want to be in contention at all. And luckily enough, I got that one as well. I mean, not super difficult putts, but moving on to 11, it's about 425 feet maybe. Just an ante shot, nothing super duper. You can throw a sidearm as well. I hit an early tree and made for a difficult second. I think you're only going to see the tee shots here as well. A lot of these holes, I apologize, you're only going to see the tee shots. So I'm going to let the video play on from here and stop the narration because I've got things to attend to.